Andrew Sharp. I worked at ClearEdge for a little over 2 years, maybe 2.5, give or take. And today I'm here to talk about viewing the world with Leaflet.js. Quick run through what I'm going to talk about. We're going to review the Leaflet Quick Start Guide. We're going to see how easy it is to add a map to your JavaScript app. Leaflet is a JavaScript library. I should have said that before. Then we're going to learn a couple gotchas along the way and check out some cool features and plugins. So first, we have two really quick setup steps, and they are super easy. You literally copy and paste these includes into your Leaflet, into the head of your document and into your Leaflet.js file after the CSS. The order is important because the JS file uses your CSS file to work. After that, we create an object. You can see it's one line. The key components here are an ID that we'll use later. You can see that here. You'll see a center coordinates, which is basically where you want your map to be centered. That's just a lat long. And then your initial zoom level, I think it goes from 2 to 16. I think 13 is a pretty basic standard starting point. And then we tell our map what tile server to use. The tile server is what serves up the images that your map will use to plot on the grid. So for instance, if it's you zoom to a level where it's a 3x3 grid, each of those grid spots will be a tile that your tile server will give you. The way we do that is called the Leaflet tile layer function. We give it a URL. Generally it's in this format. The map box is just an example. There's tons out there. And then certain services will require an attribution in order to work. So for instance, the map box requires this attribution variable, and then sometimes they require an access token as well. They're just strings, but kind of giving credit and all that stuff. And then what we do is we just add to the map. And then you'll see my map is the object we created before. And then essentially we find our car. It's in London. It's down there. So then let's add something else. Let's say, okay, we want to add a marker to our map. Well, it's another one-liner. We just create a marker object. We call leaflet.marker, tell it where, and then we add it to our map object again. And then boom, it's there. It's in London. So the full body of our app, just to kind of sum it all up, is right here. I know it's not formatted great, sorry. We create our div with a width and height. Height is very important. If you do not give a height, it will not work. Then we just create our map object, add our tile layer, add all the options to the map. It's legit 5 minutes of work, and it's pretty cool. So some gotchas, like I mentioned, you want a height on your map or it won't render. You will also want to pay attention to your tile server specs. Some of them are XYZ format, some of them are YXZ. Just pay attention to that. And then some tile servers also require a CRS value, and the wrong ones can make your map render weirdly, like upside down or 3 out of 10 tiles will load and stuff like that. And then also leaflet lat longs are, I forget why, but reversed from the GeoJSON standard, and I think it's long lat instead of lat long. It's not super intuitive, but there's enough documentation out there to catch it if you mess it up. There are also tons of plugins. Leaflet's got a super extensive library of plugins where you can draw shapes, edit the shapes that you've drawn, load in shapes from different formats like GeoJSON, KMZ, I believe, all kinds of stuff to allow user customization. Pretty much anything you might want to do on a map has probably been thought of and created into a Leaflet plugin. It even has a React wrapper library if you're in React, making the easy even easier. And then what if I'm in React? Well, you can see this is our JavaScript app from before I made the center position a variable just for conciseness, I think that's a word. So we set our view to the center, our tile layer, our marker that we added before, and then that just becomes, okay, we import React, obviously import the few things that we're going to use from the React Leaflet plugin. Then if you're familiar with React, and like Jess probably talked about, we will use all the individual components that we imported. So here's the map component, which is basically the same as l.map. Tile layer component, you can see you just give it a couple parameters like this. It's just a little more easier to read. And then marker, l.marker as well. We threw a little pop-up on this guy so that when you click it, you know, a little window will pop up saying easily customizable. Yeah, and it's that easy. And then no and then. No more and then. Here are the sources if you want to see where I got all this stuff from. It's pretty simple, just Leaflet.js and all this stuff will pop up. And that's it. Any questions?